Hi everyone, hello, welcome to the 5th edition, 6th, I get that wrong every day, see, 6th edition today of our TinyTalk TED Talks series of talks. Today we're going to be talking all about using baby sign language as part of a multilingual family. So I just want to firstly apologise, sorry, for the reasonably unprofessional pink hands. My daughter and I have been dyeing hair today, so yeah, that accounts for that. It's not a bad illness. Sorry. Let me silence the music now and we can get started. It's very good to have you guys here. If you haven't already checked out our previous instalments of these talks, you can find them on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, which is TinyTalk Kent Downs, or in the event itself, the Facebook event itself. So today we are talking about using baby sign language as part of a multilingual family, and hopefully there'll be some people listening today who do have that situation at their house. Usually it occurs where mum speaks one language, dad speaks another, and they decide to use both of those languages with the child. But it doesn't have to be those dynamics. It could be that you're living in a different country and you're wanting to use your native language and the language of the country you're living in. There could be a variety of reasons why you're looking to use two languages within the family. Quite often, people seem to think that that babies can't cope with learning more than one thing, more than one language, and that it will just be far too confusing to do that. So actually, what we would like to underline today is that babies' brains are so capable of so much. We absolutely underestimate their capacity for learning at a really young age. When they're really small, they spend so much time kind of just gazing around and taking the world in. All of that is learning time. They literally can't do anything else but soak up information at that young age. And as they grow and they develop and they start moving and start interacting with their environment as well, they will be parroting back what has gone in up until that point. So there are a couple of different ways in which a child learns two languages. You could learn them simultaneously, so at the same time as each other, or you can learn them sequentially. So firstly learn one, and then another one after that. The most common of those, particularly in the multilingual family, is the first, so learning two languages at the same time. And if you think about it, when you're using signs as well, that's a third language that you're throwing into the mix. So I totally understand why some people think that's going to be really confusing. The complete opposite is the case though, and let me explain why. Because, and actually I would like to enlist the help of another friend today. This is Frog. And for the purposes of today's talk, Frog is going to be Dad. I know, bear with me. I'll be Mum, Ted's baby. So let's pretend, for example, that Frog speaks English. I'll rattle off some of my old German. And we'll see how Ted gets on. So we're looking for milk. Ted quite fancies some milk. So Frog is going to say his word, milk, and make the sign. I'll say it in German, Milch, and make the sign, and Ted sees that that same sign therefore has two different words attached, but the sign builds a little bridge between those two words. So for Ted, he's processing both languages with a kind of common factor there. The sign remains constant regardless of what word he hears. So for example, if he's hanging out with Dad for the day and Dad uses a German word, because Dad's making the same sign as the word that Mum uses when she says it in her language, Ted absolutely links all of those things together. It's a really clever and intricate way of supporting a child's language acquisition. We always see the object, say the word, and make the sign at TinyTalk. That's a crucial part of baby signing. And by doing that, by following those processes, we are supporting a child's language acquisition as a whole. That bit's really important. There was some kind of theory that when a child does learn a couple of different languages, that their acquisition of those is a bit slower than usual if a child just learns one. And I can see why people think that. But actually, because we use signs, the opposite tends to be the case. And actually, there was a study done up at the Communication Academy in Manchester, whereby they were looking into people learning French, and some of those people were using signs at the same time. And the results were quite outstanding, actually, that 32% of improvement was shown when people learned signs alongside that language. And if you think about that, that's the third better language retention from using signs alongside learning a second language, or learning an additional language. So that's a third better. That's pretty incredible, especially when you think of it from a child's point of view. That's going to increase their language retention really quite considerably. So that's quite an interesting statistic, and I would always say, because we've had loads of multilingual families come through our classes, that using signs definitely supports your child's language acquisition. You will very rarely see a child struggling to understand both languages if they're using signs. It may be that they would have had a bit of a delay anyway in picking up their spoken word, in which case signs, as you've learned over the last few days of our talks, by using signs anyway, you're supporting your child's language acquisition. But by doing it in a multilingual family, when a child's learning a couple of different languages, you are definitely helping to support their retention of those languages up to a third, which is really important. Loads of different ways in which a multilingual family can support their child's use of language at home by using signs. All the usual resources, things like books. Oh, sorry if you lost me there for a little bit. Another apology today. Technical hitch. If you're still with us, there are loads of different ways in which a multilingual family can support their child's language acquisition at home by using signs, by using books, TV shows, native speakers, other native speakers that are around. Every opportunity you get, practice using different languages but using the same signs. Get grandparents involved and other family members, and that way signs just form a part of your child's world. It's a natural way to support their learning. So, as I've said before, we do get lots of multilingual families coming through to our classes, and because our classes take little ones right from newborn right up to preschool age and on to primary school, it's a whole scheme of learning that will follow them right through those early years, and I can't think of anyone who's come through as part of a multilingual family who hasn't found signs to be beneficial. Obviously, everything that I hear is anecdotal, but do speak to people that you know who may have been in that position. There are lots of people who kind of interact regularly with our Facebook page who would attest to exactly what I'm telling you today. And quite often you hear when people are coming into a class setting who do use a couple of languages at home, that people are concerned that, by adding a third language effectively into a child's dynamic at home, that it will be too confusing. But when we explain this business about the signs making a bridge, it can be really reassuring. So if you want to come along and check out a class, then please do. We've got online classes going on all through the summer holidays, and then our regular classes start again in September on a daily basis. If we're allowed to be face-to-face by then we will do so. But otherwise, we're continuing having an online option. If you would like to join us, or if you'd like to know more, get in touch with us on the Facebook page, which is TinyTalk Kent Downs, or you can check out the baby signing page, the main page, which is www.tinytalk.co.uk. Thanks very much for listening today, guys. I hope some of you have found that helpful. We've got one more edition of our TinyTalk TED Talks happening tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock, and the final one is going to be all about how does baby signing work online. So if you're curious, if you're missing face-to-face baby groups and you fancy just doing something to keep your hand in, to occupy your child over the summer, come and take a listen tomorrow and we can explain all about it. Thanks very much for listening today, guys. Bye bye.